where you can do all those things and so much more. Just grab a seat in the chair or the floor. Sit back, relax, recline. While she drops another casual line. You're tuned into Casually Molly with Molly and Bergie.
Now. Thanks so much for tuning in to the Casually Molly podcast. I am your host, Molly Ambergy. For our casual listeners joining us again, welcome back. And if you're new to the podcast, we're casually happy to have you listening, viewing. Just remember to share, listen, subscribe. You can even follow us on TikTok now at Casually Molly. But speaking of following, you should definitely follow our next guest that's sitting right next to me. She has been our guest artist of the month in St. Louis with her hit single Changes. Give it up for Dria, everybody. There we go. Hey. Hey. All right. Now that we got our professional out of the way, Dria, first of all, lovely. Thank you so much. This has been a long time coming, but I'm so happy to have you here. You look great. Yeah, girl.
I love it.
So are you, just remind me, are you a St. Louis native?
I am.
Okay,
yep.
Perfect.
Yeah.
I was going to say, born and raised. There we go, girl. Hey, I love it. I'm not born and raised in St. Louis, but I am like everybody. I've been in St. Louis for the past 10 years and everybody's really welcomed me in. How Dria and I cross paths, we actually have a mutual connection through her boyfriend, Marquise. So shout out to Marquise. I hope he hears us. So there we go.
That's my babe.
Yeah, Marquise has also been on the show, and you came to a comedy show over at Helium Comedy Club that we were on. And Marquise has said so many great things about your song Changes. So I kind of want to get into what made you get into music.
Oh God, family.
Okay.
Yeah, my mom sings, and my uncles they sing, and my grandparents they write and they played, and I just think I was just born with that gift. So that's what made me do it.
When was like your first time that you can remember that you were in a performance space?
Probably at church.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. Because that's just, choir, stage, all that. So, yeah. That would be like the first performance space ever.
Absolutely. And so what did that feel like, being able to, at such a young age, performing in church in front of a live audience, that you were like, I should take this on further?
Super nervous.
Aww.
Super nervous, yeah. I was so nervous. I think my first solo in church was I think I was 9 years old, and I remember just staring at the floor, just singing the song all the way through, and I'm just like, but yeah, that was my first performance wise. But yeah, I still get nervous from time to time, but
Absolutely. I mean, I feel like we all it's like as you get older, it's like a nervous jitter because you want to do well. It's something that you like, which brings you to now. You have this lovely single. It's called Changes. You can stream it anywhere on all streaming services, even on YouTube. Saw it on there as well. Yes. What was the inspiration behind your single Changes?
Oh, I went through a lot of stuff. And I just felt like I was just stagnant in just one place. And I'm like, let me just write. And normally when I write, I have my best friend. He's like my producer. And I was in the studio and he played something. I'm writing. And I came up with the hook first and then just the verses. And it just started coming. So I was just like, hey, Changes. It just flew. So I knew it was the one.
Yeah. And I know you've got some other music out. I love the storytelling of Changes and whatnot. Is there you were talking about writing with your friend. Is there a process that you guys have, or do you just kind of have that click?
We bonded when we first met. But yeah, it is a click, but it's also, I think we more so come up with concepts first and then we write. And then sometimes I could be at home and be like, I found that, I thought about this, let's start working on this. And he'll just come up with a beat and then we'll just write around it. So yeah, so that's the process.
Oh, wow. So where does I know you said you went through some things, but for inspiration, I know you started sitting at home. Does it kind of pop up when you're in the car or when you're walking or?
Sometimes, sometimes it will. And especially if I'm in the car, I'll grab my phone and press memo and boom, I have a melody or just a few lines or whatever. But yeah, it just comes just sporadically.
I love that. That's I feel like that's also when inspiration hits. So what would you consider like the description of the style of your music?
I would say R&B, jazz, and a little bit of neo soul mixed together.
Ooh, did you say neo soul? Why don't you? I'm just ignorant to that because I'm a comedian. I don't know very much about music. And I don't say that like there's some comedians who know a lot about music. I took piano and whatnot, but I was always like classically trained. So why don't you tell me a little about what neo soul is?
Neo soul. Okay, have you heard of Erykah Badu?
Yes, I love her. Okay, yeah.
Well, she's basically categorized in that era, Music Soul Child, those type of people. But they have a different, I think they have like more of a different like sound versus regular R&B. Theirs is more kind of a laid back, chill type vibe, you know. So that's kind of me.
Absolutely. Well, I think that's also relatable to like, well, even though I try to be laid back and chill, that's not always the case. I was like, that's why I need people like Dria in my life to be like, listen, you gotta relax. But you know, now that you're pursuing music, have you been doing any shows here in St. Louis? What's your show kind been like? Even though I know we've had the pandemic and all these things going on.
No shows yet. Shows yet. I'm working on it. My boyfriend Dria is helping me out, so yeah.
Absolutely. Well,
I think it's like a maybe like a nerve, maybe anxiety thing with me actually getting back on stage because I haven't performed in about 4 years.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So yeah, that's kind of hard, but I'm getting there.
That's okay.
And I am gonna get there. Yeah.
I like the determination. I was going to ask you too, what made you decide to get back into music after being kind of away from it for a short time?
I think just different people coming up to me saying, hey, you know, keep singing, because I would do covers online, you know, whether it be YouTube, Facebook, and I would get comments and they would be like, you know, Dria, keep singing. And that was kind of motivation for me to just keep going. Especially now that I have a 10-year-old, she looks and just follows everything and she can sing as well too. So that's a good thing. I'm her influence. So.
Oh.
Yeah.
So should we expect like a duet in the future? What's happening?
Maybe. She might be in one of my songs.
Aw, okay. That's cute.
Yeah.
I was about to say, does she like a lot of R&B and neo soul as well? Or are there any other interests that she's got?
Disney.
Yeah, Disney's great. Disney makes sense.
Disney, R&B, yeah, just whatever's popular right now. You know how kids are. TikTok, you know.
Yeah. Absolutely. I was about to say, what do you think about the promoting aspect and marketing your new song? It seems to be getting out a lot of places, but
I'm my own person, so I'm actually just trying to push it as much as I can. I am trying to like come up with a team to start pushing not only my single but my project that's coming up, and so yeah, so I'm working on that.
Yeah, I didn't know about your covers. What's like one of your favorite songs that you've covered that we should listen to?
Oh my goodness. Oh gosh. Probably I want to say the LeAnn Rimes "How Do I Live" cover.
I love that song. I think that was a given, but I love that song.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's on YouTube. Yeah.
What made you decide on that one?
That one because my mom sings, and growing up she had a LeAnn Rimes CD and she loved that. I don't even know what album it was on, but she loved playing that song, and that song like just, I don't know, it does something to my heart. So I just love it, and that's just one of my favorite covers.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That song does a lot. I feel like I would get along with your mom because that song made that. I remember, as random as it sounds, I remember being like in the roller rink, like rolling around, be like, hey, and it would come on. You're like, oh, it's so like, you think about like
pretty. Right.
Yeah.
Think about your boyfriend.
Yeah. You're like, oh, my crush.
But back then I wasn't thinking about any boy. So, you know.
That's good.
Yeah, of course. It's really good.
I love it. So, you know, speaking of LeAnn Rimes, who are some of your inspirations in music?
Oh, I have a lot, but I'm just gonna narrow them down. Okay, I guess I can go from old to young. That's not mean, is it? Okay, so Anita Baker, Whitney, of course, I love her. Rest in peace.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Brandy,
yeah,
Tamia, and my all-time favorite, Beyonce.
Oh, absolutely.
Beyonce.
Who doesn't have a Beyonce list on their pump up?
I love it. I'm part of the Beehive. So.
Yeah. Yes.
Any other Beehivers out there? Yes.
Oh, don't worry. There's definitely some listeners who are Beehivers, trust me. Especially if Molly Ambergy's running this podcast. I'm like, I loved Destiny's Child when there was 4, when there was 3. So
there was 4 again.
There's
then
3.
3.
Just kept fluctuating. But yeah, I've been a Bey fan for a very long time. So I can definitely relate.
Yeah.
So, but you also sent me, so Dria sent me this lovely bio. You were recognized in, was it like some kind of magazine or publication?
Glamour magazine, the YouTube, well, I guess you could say just the magazine. Yeah. They contacted me back in 2018 about the Leanne Rimes cover. And they sent me the video of her watching it, and they were like, I guess they were recording my reaction, and the girl was like, all right, this is going to be posted and within a few months, and you'll be able to see it, and everyone else will be posted. And yeah, it hasn't been posted yet, but yeah, I thought that was really cool that she actually watched me and really critiqued me, and she said I touched her. So yeah, that was pretty cool.
Oh,
yeah.
That, speaking of touching people, is that why you got into music? Because you felt like you connected with other people?
Yeah. I probably didn't realize I had such an impact on people, especially singing in church. People always come to me, oh my God, you sing so well, you touch my heart. And, sometimes I just, well, okay, but after like just constantly getting that, yeah, I felt the need to just continue on and keep singing, because I see what it does to other people. So I touch people.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I mean, you're also saying too, like you have a child who's also interested in it. What are your plans maybe moving forward that you want to do with your music and your work?
Moving forward, I want to do a lot of things, but starting, I want to create, or I am creating a dope project. It'll probably be like a short album, maybe a long, it just depends on how I feel. But I want that to really relate to others and touch people, and also, have a little vibe in there, but yeah, I just want to touch a lot of people.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Make them feel good.
Yeah. Well, I think that's the best thing about music, is that it makes people feel good. Even what I love is that, you could even use, I've talked about this with a few musicians and artists on here, is sometimes even sad things that we necessarily don't want to, we put it to a beat, and would you agree on that?
Yeah. Yeah. And sometimes like, I was telling Marquise, I'm like, sometimes there's some songs I just don't want to revisit, but you just never know what that'll make the fan feel, like, oh my God, I was feeling that at that moment, so I try to keep those in my inventory, to use, put to good use. Yeah.
Now, that's interesting you brought that up too, about like some songs you don't want to revisit versus, are there some songs that you write then and you kind of put away for a minute, or?
Yes.
Okay.
I have a song that I wrote in 2012 that I recently just found, and just reading it, I think at the time, I don't even know what kind of space I was in at the time. But reading it now, I'm like, wow, this is relevant for today.
Wow.
It's so crazy, and I'm like, okay, this is going on the list to go on the album. So yeah, isn't that interesting? Because I don't know if Marquise told you this, I also write plays. I haven't written a new one in a while, but there were times where, you write a play at a certain point, and then I would reproduce that play. And it was kind of the same thing where I'm like, oh, this is so relevant to my life now than it was like a while back. Like it was relevant, or like, I'm sure with your song, it's like relevant in a new way where I'm like, oh, this hit me differently. Yeah.
Which now I'm asking, this is so interesting. So does it kind of work the other way around, do you think, where you're like, I am so confident in this song, and then after you write something, you're like, oh, well, this hit me, this is a little bit different than maybe I felt beforehand?
Yeah, it does. It happens that way as well, because I'm like, I don't know if I want to sing this one. I don't know. I'm not feeling it. I'll feel it then, and I'm like, nah. scratch that.
Or yeah, like do a rewrite or something. It's just like with jokes too in comedy. We're like, oh, this joke killed. And then you're like, oh, maybe I should rewrite. It's a little bit different. So I didn't even think of that. Okay.
Yeah.
And you're talking about making an album. How many songs do you maybe think you've compiled and written to get to that point?
I write in like a million notebooks, and sometimes my just scrabble may turn into lyrics or a song, or a poem may turn into a song, and I'll go back and revisit. But I can't even put a number on it, honestly. Maybe 100, maybe more than 100.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
And like, it's cool that you're keeping all the record of notebooks. And I like how you mentioned poetry. So do you feel like in your writing process, you put that poetry in there as well? Okay.
Yeah, all the time.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I try to use every type of writing, maybe a haiku poet, stuff like that.
Oh my gosh, I haven't heard a haiku. I took a poetry class in college and I haven't heard that until now. But it's kind of like, we talk about Tupac, and he was a poet, and I didn't realize that until I really started listening to his music in high school. And I was like, oh, and then he ended up doing that with rap.
Yeah.
Have you always been interested in poetry? It's
Not
okay.
quite. I think, I really have. In high school, I wasn't. I think it started hitting me probably when I turned 18, 19, because I started doing YouTube videos when I was like 18. So I started kind of working more and studying people, and then I just started writing, and poetry just came. So yeah, it hasn't always been a thing, but it became one.
Yeah, I feel like especially when you start songwriting, poetry will definitely become something, because you're making that rhythm and you're trying to put something artistic and collaborative together.
Right.
Which, speaking of that, I know you had mentioned you have a friend that you write with, but would you ever, or have you actually, I shouldn't say would you ever, because you might have you ever collaborated with any other musicians in the area?
Yes. I actually did a few songs with Draco. I don't know if you heard of him.
I have not, but now I'm going to look him up.
Yes. I recently did a song. It was kind of like a collaborative. It was me, it was a few other people, and it was strings. You heard of strings?
I know, but I'm ready. This is why I love this
so
podcast.
Draco and Strings ENB. Look them up, y'all. Yeah, look them up.
So what did you guys like? What was the song? Was it an R&B or was it?
Draco's a rapper.
Oh, okay.
And he's like a motivational rapper.
Okay.
And Strings is a singer, and he's an awesome singer, by the way. But the song that I did with Draco, it was like an intro to his album, and I just did some backgrounds, and actually on both his albums I did. And then with the collaborative, it was kind of I guess you could say it was kind of a motivational song, but I guess you could put that in like R&B, hip hop ish, but yeah. So, and then Dre, my producer, he's an artist as well, Dre Marty. I've done a lot of stuff for him too.
Absolutely. Okay. That's what I always find interesting when you're collaborating, because, you are bringing, especially in that situation, like you mentioned,
right?
You're bringing 3 different types of personalities, interests, styles. How did you guys balance all of that in one room? Was there times where you butt heads? Was it just kind of a fluid motion no matter what?
I think all the people that I've ever worked with, I've really gotten along with and clicked well with. And sometimes I beat myself up a lot, and they'll say, "Oh my God, you could sing," and I'm just like, "Oh," And but yeah, I just think the chemistry and just like this, and I'm grateful for those connections to this day.
Yeah, for those who are listening, Dria just put her hands together, and I was like, doing this, just like our chemistry on this podcast. Follow us at the Casually Molly podcast at Dria's. It's fine. But I think that's great. It's also nice to hear too, because you hear a lot of, in the entertainment industry, a lot of people are always like, oh, I butt heads with this person, this. So it's actually, for me, because I know you're a nice person as well, and that's probably why we get along, is that, it's nice to see people just getting along with people and making art, and, your intention of wanting just to simply touch people and have a
Right.
connection. And you do that in a collaborative process. You do making, moves and thoughts with other
Right.
people. Was there ever an experience when you performed that you had a good connection with an audience member that you can think at the top of your head? I know you kind of touched on that, having people say, this was good, I liked this, but is there anything that sticks out to you?
No.
That's so sweet though, because that's so humble. Like, no, everybody was nice. Yeah.
I mean, I can't. I just can't recall. I mean, other than like church people, they're gonna be people at church are gonna be nice and they're gonna come up to you and say things. But as far as like them actually seeing somebody in the crowd and actually getting like emotional or feeling it, I don't know. I guess when I'm on stage, I don't pay attention to it, but.
You're just with like the aura of it and the atmosphere.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's such a nice, refreshing answer. Because I feel people, like even myself included, I'll be like, this one time, this person said something super nice about me, and I'm going to keep it in my mind forever. And I might want to share it on Facebook. But that was so humble. You're like, I'm just like in the moment. I'm here.
I am. I just don't pay attention unless somebody come on. Oh my God, you did so good. I'm like, I did, So.
I love that. I love that a lot. That's a good question too. You're like, you're in the moment. Is there like a certain headspace you go to, or that you feel like, or are you just kind of like, it's just in the zone? And like, I know sometimes as a performer, right, sometimes like you almost black out in a sense, and then you come back, you're like, oh, I just sang a song, or I just did a comedy set.
I honestly, no, sometimes I just sing, close my eyes and kind of get lost in it, and before I know it, the song's over and I'm like off stage and people are like, you did a good job. I'm like, I did. It's almost kind of like I go somewhere in my head and my thoughts, but it's kind of like not like an alter ego, but I know people have their different ways of performing and getting ready and stuff like that. But yeah, for me, it's just me. I'm closing my eyes, I'm getting lost in it, and then I'm done, and that's it.
That is so like, that's like, I mean, that's not like a bullshit answer.
Yeah,
like that's really real life. Like sometimes people are like, what are you thinking about? And I'm like, my set. Like,
right. I'm going to say the right words.
I'm just feeling the moment. I'm like, I totally understand how you feel. Oh, that's great. Well, speaking of, you were talking about like, church people and stuff. There's another thing too. We're obviously, for those of you who are new to this podcast, we're based here in St. Louis, Missouri. For those of you who are listening or watching on YouTube, so please share with your local St. Louisans. Why St. Louis? Why do you stay and perform St. Louis in the St. Louis area? And how do you feel about the artistic arena here in our city?
Since I haven't gotten used to performing, well, I'm used to performing, but haven't really gotten to perform on the scene yet. I do have friends that I see, out here doing their thing, and I just love it. I love the vibe of just everybody, like they got their own style and they're so creative, and I just love the music scene here. Yeah. So that's why I stay. And just try to support where I can.
Absolutely. Well, speaking of St. Louis, we'll ask a couple of questions here just to get to know Dria a little bit. This segment's called Getting to Know Dria. I couldn't come up with a more creative one, but here we go.
These questions?
These questions, she's like, oh no, they're just cute ones.
Okay.
So here's the deal, right? St. Louis has like different things that they're known for, like toasted ravioli or the Arch. If somebody were to come to St. Louis, what would you recommend they eat or go do, or maybe both?
Okay. Emos for one. I would recommend that for eating. Drink wise, I don't know. I don't know about that one, but
that's okay. You solicited emos. Okay, anywhere to go.
Anywhere to go. I'm kind of a homebody, you guys. So
that's okay. Yeah.
To go, I don't know. I guess I would say the botanical gardens. It's really pretty in there. So
yeah. Absolutely. I used to live right by the botanical gardens in like this tiny little apartment, but I loved seeing all like the cool plants and everything. So that makes sense.
Yeah.
No, I got
an art museum, you guys.
What was that?
The art museum.
Oh yeah.
I love art. I love art.
I didn't know. What kind of art do you usually like, or like what's your interests?
Anything that catches my eye. I mean, I don't have like a specific artist or anything like that, but I just love art. Abstract to like just abstract. I really like because you get to see it like a million different ways. You know, I like that.
Yeah, absolutely. I completely forgot about the art. Like for people who aren't aware of it, we have Forest Park that has the art museum in it, as well as the zoo. There's like the basin down there where you can go on the little cute swan boats, and there's the boat house. So that's great. I gotta ask you though. So people in St. Louis, again, for people who don't know, have very conflicting opinions about Emo's Pizza.
Oh God.
Where do you stand? I mean, obviously you said go to Emo's, and so did Simone Biles, and she's an Olympian. So,
and
why do you feel strongly about Emo's?
Probably because, of course, if you were St. Louis and we grew up on it, you know. But I don't know. I think it's what is it? Provel cheese?
Yeah.
I think it's the cheese.
Really? So you're a fan?
I'm a fan, and I love like the deluxe pizza, and like, don't hate me guys, but I like pineapple on my pizza, so
I actually have nothing against pineapple on pizza. I never here's the thing. If you're eating it and you're happy, I do not care.
You know, some people are like, ew, pineapple, how can you eat that? Hey, I love it.
So it may not be my thing, but I've seen people, I think I've just seen, it's just like, I don't know, like I like olives on my pizza and some people are like, ooh, I don't like that either. So it's just kind of depends on what you like and what you want. The other thing is too, you know, since you've got a boyfriend in comedy and, you know, we basically it's mostly a comedy podcast. How have you been enjoying seeing comedians here in St. Louis? What do you think of our St. Louis comedy scene?
I love it.
Yeah.
Like everybody is so funny. I like I said, like when I met Marquise, I had never been to like an actual, like I guess you can call it a hole in the wall comedy show. Like I've never been to one of those before, and I was just like, wow, there's some talented people in St. Louis.
I know.
You're hilarious, by the way.
Oh my God, guys, this is on. So not to not be humble, but that was just on camera.
She's hilarious.
Oh no, you were so sweet. That's why I was so excited when you came to the show, because we were just hanging out afterwards, and I was like, oh my God, your song is Changes, and we got talking. I was like, oh, you got to come on. So, well, I really appreciate the kind words, but I was about to say, you know, now that you're dating a comedian, do you feel like you'll be popping out to more shows, having a new appreciation for comedy?
I pop out to all of them. Well, I try to pop out to all of them, but yeah.
Well, speaking of popping out, you just went to the shout out to the Black Pack.
Yes.
Yeah, the Black Pack show over at Das Bevo on Saturday. How did that go?
That was good, and everybody killed on that set. Like each set was dope. I love the energy. I love the people that were there. They were so supportive, so supportive. But yeah, everybody was good, including Marquise. Marquise, you were amazing. Yes. So
for people who don't know, Marquise is actually sitting behind this TV, but he's being very polite. So that way we can keep this episode on Dria.
Back to me.
Back to Dria. Another thing I'll ask you, getting to know Dria here. What is something, you know, obviously we talked about your music and getting started in music, but what is something maybe about yourself that people don't actually know?
I can imitate people, and I love voiceover work.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah.
I did not know that.
Yes.
So what got you into imitating and voiceover work?
You know what? I think as a kid, because I used to, like I have a twin sister, so me and her, we used to play like little, like maybe house or something. Like she'd be the mom, I'd be the baby, and I would just sit there and I'm like, no, you know, just do weird voices. And I think just ever since then, I just been very animated. Low key animated, but yeah, I love that.
High key. It is. It's high key. That little kid voice she does.
Good.
It's yeah.
So
weird. Yeah, and I can imitate a few celebrities. I'm working on those, so I can be really fluent. You know?
But see, that's the thing. I feel like when you start in like one artistic endeavor, like singing and whatnot, that's what happens. Like you start in one thing and you start branching out to the other stuff as well. Yeah. No, that's really cool. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
And I guess like one of the last things I'll ask you too before we head on out of here, what is something that one of your goals this year in 2022 that you'd like to accomplish?
My goal this year, I said at the beginning of the new year that all things new would come to me and that I would attack them and not kind of be in the back like scared to face these great opportunities head on. So my goal this year is to finish my album, have it out, and promote it as much as I can, and do some shows, y'all. I haven't been booked yet, but yeah. I gotta get out here. That's why I'm on this podcast. You guys can know me.
Absolutely. Well, see, and that's the thing. Yeah. Even though, like, I find it interesting. A lot of people are returning back to the stage after a certain period of time.
Yeah.
So now we just got to get you recently booked out and doing stuff. Which, speaking of promoting your endeavors, like all the things you're doing, plus going to emos. Where can we find your single Changes other than on this podcast?
All right, you can find Changes on Amazon Music, Tidal, Spotify, Apple. Did I name them all? iTunes? Anywhere you can stream digitally. Yeah. Did I say that right? Yeah. Anywhere. Yeah.
Anywhere. And it's a great song. You're going to love it. If you're looking on YouTube, her handle, Dria's handle, is on there. You can follow her on Instagram. Just make sure you can even follow us at the Casually Molly podcast. And I will obviously make sure to handle Dria's handle. I will make sure. I will just be handling it. That's what I do. I try to do the Olivia Pope. I'm like, it's handled. It's done. Yeah.
It's handled.
I was like, oh, I love her. I loved Olivia Pope. She was great. The last thing too, I'll ask you. I said the last thing I'm going to ask you, one of the last things, but this is the last thing.
Okay.
Now that our episode is finished, first of all, thank you for coming.
Thank you for having me. I love it.
Absolutely. I feel like I learned a lot about writing music as well as the love for Emo's Pizza. So again, that's always a conflicting thing. So if you're in St. Louis, shout out to anybody who's been staying strong to Emos. What are you going to casually do now that our episode is over?
Well, I'm going to casually work on some more stuff and hopefully get on another one of these podcasts because this is cool. Oh, I didn't know what to expect, but yeah.
Oh, well, thank you. I know you were just like, sign me up.
Just put me on there. But yeah, I just tend to get back to work and try to get some gigs out here and get back on the stage. I'm a little nervous about that, but yeah, that's what I plan on doing.
Absolutely. Well, I feel like anything that you care about and you love can always be nerve-wracking. Trust me. And I've only been doing comedy for 6 years, but I still get nervous, like popping back on stage. And even though like I'll be doing a set and I'll be doing fine at a mic and there's just something, but because you care about it. And then once you're in the moment, you're like, oh, it's fine. So I'm sure you feel that way about singing.
Yeah. So once I'll get back in the groove of things, I'll be good.
It's all right. We're all getting back in the groove, casually back in the groove.
Because COVID sucks. It really, really sucks.
Yes. I think we just got our name. Casually getting back in the groove with Dria. I can't wait.
Yay.
All right, everybody. Thank you again. Make sure you follow at Dria's and also at the Casually Molly podcast. Hit that subscribe button on YouTube. We love you. And now we're going to hear Changes by Dria.
Why do I feel like I can't seem to get it right? My vision is so damn cloudy with no end inside. Trying to find my way through, somebody come take my hand. These days been so long I can't even think straight. Every time I dream, you fade away. Same routine, going through the same routine. Yeah, going through the same routine. I'm crying for some change. I've been crying. I'm crying for some change inside. I've been crying. I'm crying for some change. I've been crying. this mental captivity. But I can't give up now. I gotta live and take care of mine. These days been so long, I can't, oh no, even think straight. Every time I dream you fade away. Same routine, going through the same routine. Going through the same routine.